Hi, I'm Rachel Dillon.
And I'm Marcus Dillon.
And this podcast is Who's Really the Boss, where we highlight the joys
and challenges
of running a business with your spouse or family.
Our mission is to strengthen families and businesses by helping listeners avoid the mistakes we have made so they can lead
and live happily ever after. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Really the Boss podcast.
Well, hey, thanks for having me back.
We are about to celebrate Thanksgiving. So with that, what do you look forward to most at Thanksgiving?
For me, at Thanksgiving, I look forward to certain foods at Thanksgiving. So one, it's great to be off, and especially if you're traveling for fun, not for family, because we do a lot of traveling on that day to get to certain people's houses to eat food and be together as family. So what I look forward to, I think I only get it at that time of year, is this sweet potato casserole, I guess is what people call it. And it's mashed-ish sweet potatoes with a whole lot of butter, a whole lot of sugar. I don't even probably want to know the makeup of that. It does have a layer of marshmallows and potentially pecans on it. So it is like candy. And I only get that at, I don't even think people make that for Christmas around here. It's only at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that you didn't describe that as chunky this time. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's half mashed. It's almost like, it's hard. And I don't even know who makes it. I think my sister makes the one that I like the most. I don't even know. And they don't even come to Thanksgiving. So I probably won't get it this year. It's all right. What about you? What do you look forward to as far as Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving week?
Yeah, definitely look forward to watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And really, probably the only part of that I care anything about is the Rockettes performance. And so we have been fortunate enough to see the Rockettes perform in New York City. My mom and I, a long time ago, also got to see them perform. They came to Houston, I think, one time, and we went and saw them. And so I have been fortunate enough to see the Rockettes live. Yeah, so that's probably, and being with family, I think being with family without the gifts as like the main focus of what's going on, I like that too.
Yeah. Do you remember when we used to run a 5K before Thanksgiving? Was it a 5K or a 1K?
A 5K.
The turkey trot? Okay.
Yes, a 5K. And yes, I remember because I think the first year or two, the girls were too young. They did not go. So we had to have we had to figure out what they were going to do during that time. And then they ran with us 1 year or two. I'm pretty sure something happened where every one of us got separated from each other, and it was fairly traumatic. But it all ended well. And then the temperature in Texas, it just felt like it was getting colder and colder every year on Thanksgiving Day. And also I think we started helping bring some food to Thanksgiving. And so we needed to be home so that we could make sure things were prepared in time to take with us.
I think the other thing that may have happened there is those girls grew into teenagers, and teenagers did not want to wake up and go run a 5K on their day off or their week off.
In the cold. Yeah. In the freezing cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. Well, yeah. So a lot to be thankful for sure. A lot to be excited about this week. But we have other things that have just finally rolled out for us on the business side. So had a little bit of a glow up over this past weekend. Friday, a new website launched. And with that, a few other changes came. So really wanted to talk about, we gave a little preview last week on the podcast of some changes that were coming, but wanted to talk through really the who, what, and why of all of our changes and our glow up that has recently come through.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally share with the public what we've been working on, and they probably won't know a fraction of the effort that went in by our team to kind of refine processes and get to this point where we are now publicly under a new name, a new website, have services a better defined and a more strategic market outreach to clients. So, yeah, I think you mentioned the who, what, the why. If we break it down in a little bit different of an order and go the why or the what, the why, and the who, I think that's probably the appropriate place to start. So the what is probably the first one. So a lot has happened, but what exactly has happened?
Yeah, so we dropped a name change. We actually dropped CPA out of our name. So now we are Dillon Business Advisors. Branding refresh. So with that name change, branding is also different. So color schemes, fonts, some designs that are kind of in the background of things. Our website is different. And then we have made a lot of refinements internally with just processes, roles, and responsibilities, just defining everything. So what changed is we clarified a whole lot about what we were pretty much doing anyway, but definitely clarified it around where we want to go so that we can get to that place probably easier, better, faster.
And get to that place with the right people doing the right things. And so I think a lot of the reasons why and who we'll get to in a bit, but it was no big feat. As we started to dig in with some of these what's, a big what that clients or even prospects, most of the public don't realize is we had to go out and find a software that we could run our business on and essentially be a single place of truth. And in our business, probably more than other either client businesses or other just general businesses that are in the market, we have a lot of databases of information in our business that aren't necessarily connected to one another. So we've got professional softwares. We have the accounting software that runs the business. We've got email. We've got different portals and secure communication things. And then finally, one of those databases that we needed to employ in our business was a CRM, a client relationship manager, right? Isn't that what CRM stands for?
Yes.
Okay. And there are many different options out there. The main one that we landed on is HubSpot. And so HubSpot is used by a lot of small businesses. So that is one of the main what's that drove a lot of these changes. So HubSpot does work with the website. HubSpot does link into our accounting software and different things like that. So that's pretty much wraps up the what, because I know when people look at the small changes to the name, obviously it's the same great team of people standing behind that name. The new website, things like that are small changes and refresh, but it's ultimately building our business on a new piece of software.
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about what were some of the things that we experienced that we decided to even look at a CRM and even look at HubSpot. So previously, we had a smaller team. We had a lot of clients, but a smaller team. And so because we had a lot of clients, we had a smaller team, we didn't necessarily need to turn on a sales funnel, a prospect pipeline. We didn't have anybody that would have been able to even manage that whole process. And so some of the things that we did as we started refining who we serve and we're able to start building the business that we really wanted, that supported our lifestyle of family first, balancing work life with personal life, not sacrificing relationships with family and friends for work. As we started building that, we were able to help clients who didn't fit that model find a better place, find better people to serve them as maybe like an annual only tax return relationship, and really able to focus in on the types of clients that we could plan around on a yearly basis, where we offer them the same services each month. We know the time commitment for those, and then we could start looking outside again for more of those ideal clients. And so there were a couple steps before we got to HubSpot, a couple things that we did, a couple additions to our team, and a couple of additions to maybe even like our marketing strategy, we'll say, that we did before HubSpot and before the name and branding and website change. So how would people know that they even need to consider a CRM?
We realized that we needed something a little bit more powerful as far as a tool was concerned. It was where the team or people are going to multiple different places to get data. And you would have a lead that comes in as an email to you, and it maybe lives in part of your website, but then that is not feeding into any other software that you can follow up with or build a campaign on. And if you are doing campaigns and marketing, where does that live? Is that in Excel, or is that in some automated tool like a Salesforce, like HubSpot, or like a full, standalone CRM? And because we invested in a sales team, and Chris and Hope, who will also lead some marketing as well going forward, because we invested in those positions, they didn't know necessarily what was the single source of truth within our business. And all of this is decisions that we made as business owners based on our growth path and what we wanted for our business and what we wanted for the lives of our team members. This is not going to be right for every single business. And so it was just where we were at a maturity standpoint. I think people can get by with a lot less, but we wanted to kind of go all in on that software and try to make it work because we had so much investment riding in team members on our side. So that's why we started looking at why a CRM.
Yeah. So within the business, things that had traditionally maybe been a responsibility of you or of myself or of another team member who had been here for a very long time, our processes of finding things and contacting people, we would go to multiple places to look, or we would know where the most current thing was saved. And we could kind of do that. But when we started hiring and building out our team and really refining roles and responsibilities of certain people were responsible for very specific aspects. For example, sales, for example, onboarding, for example, bookkeeping or tax or projections or consulting. So when people were responsible for very specific pieces of a client relationship, that's where we realized we can't have these databases and this information in all of these places that only one person out of the whole team knows where it lives. And so we really had to think through, what does that look like? What can we use that would be visible for the whole team? And then also that would have built-in automation to help so that a person is not manually doing a lot of the tasks that go with building a marketing and sales funnel. I want to say also that prior to doing all of this, we again wanted to increase the visibility of the business in order to attract the right type of ideal clients to our business. And we did look at, and we actually did have a service help us with some SEO optimization. And those things, we also did some videos and started doing a little more on social media. Those things didn't really hit the mark as far as what we were wanting with our goals of scaling the business. they didn't really move the needle much. So there were some things that we tried prior to hiring this fractional revenue operations team that weren't quite right for us. So a lot of things have gone into planning before we really got in a relationship, a pretty long-term relationship with a heavy investment for the business.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right as far as like we've tried a lot of different things, and it was almost to the point where we didn't have the best plan in mind. We just kept on throwing services and resources and hoping that they would all work together. So we had to really step back and say, let's kind of scale it back to where we can start again as far as like, where do we go from here? So we had to figure out where we were going and why we were going there, right? And we have said, you already mentioned it, that we wanted to grow or scale at a pace to support and allow growth opportunities for our team. And it all comes back to the team for us and creating a great place to work. And ultimately, that's why. At the end of the day, all of this makes sense. That's the why for HubSpot. That's why for this additional team. That's the why for the sales team. It's all to create budget so that we can provide for a team and be a home for people that want a great place to work, essentially. And then with that, with a great team, with the best team possible that are fulfilled, we can provide the best service to our current clients and new clients. And so those new clients are special, and we have to go essentially find them. And up to this point, we couldn't plan around growth because we relied on referrals. Referrals are great, but they don't come in at an even pace. So we needed to develop a system to essentially balance out that inflow of great future clients. So our team, who has additional responsibilities outside of our business, can plan appropriately. And so that's part of the why as well. And ultimately, all of this goes back to those families who are here serving those businesses and making for better days, essentially. So that's even like the bigger why, in the fact of like, that should be able to answer every single question on why these changes were done.
Yeah, let's break it down to just one piece. Why did we have to change the name in order to attract new clients and scale our business?
So I love being a CPA. I love the designation and the doors it's opened for me. We felt that the name of the business, having CPA in the name, went to market in a certain way to associate closer with tax. And so what we have done over the years, as our model has shifted and even our service offering has shifted, we no longer lead with tax as our core service offering or deliverable. We lead with business advice. And so everybody on our team, regardless of how long or what their position is, gives business advice on a daily basis. So that's ultimately a better reflection of our team. And so we changed the name from Dillon CPAs to Dillon Business Advisors. And even putting business as our middle name reflects who we serve best. So we serve businesses and business owners better than others. And that's essentially, we wanted it. We felt that strongly to have it in our name.
Yeah. I know a lot of what we have worked on is really clarifying our messaging, what outsiders are interpreting and understanding and getting from our name, from our social medias, from our website, from everything that's outward facing. What is the message that we are portraying? And so that's where we really found that there was a lot of refinement needed. Not that there was anything ever wrong with what we had before. It just wasn't clearly defined. And so the phone calls that would come in we're such a wide variety of prospects, but a lot of them needed tax work. So whether it was individuals or any type of industry of business, most of them were looking for someone to prepare a tax return or someone to help them lower their tax liability. And so, so talked about why the name change, why a new website.
So our new website, I'm really excited about this because the new website is built on top of HubSpot, which is what we talked about as being this new software that will be important to our business. And I will disclaim it once again, this is not right for every business. And even us, like we are projecting to be bigger than we are. Like we kind of are, I don't want to say ahead of our skis, but we're skiing really fast and I'm not the best skier. So it's something to be looked at. And I feel like our business is a pilot car for certain people in the industry. So I feel like we are doing a little bit of navigation and kind of exploring to see what's possible. All that to say, like we made the decision, had a lot of counsel from trusted people that, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to do this experiment. And, you know, we have a lot of people watching this alongside of us to make sure that it does work for our business and potentially other businesses in the future. So that website is built on top of HubSpot. And even with that, we wanted to be really clear on who we are, who we serve, and what we do. And so we have defined our service offerings better with more of a clean pricing structure. And you know exactly what you're going to get. There's no more, hey, we can do this. Like there was so much of that in my career and my, journey as a business owner, just to take on projects that really didn't fit. So now it's being comfortable in what you're going and how you're serving clients. So those pages made all the sense in the world to kind of redo with this new website. And then the other piece, probably the final one, is just the analytics that we're going to get from the website as far as like traffic and things like that, click-through rates, all that being tied into one platform, one automation tool that can track it all, and ultimately build out a contact list of our current clients and then future clients to how do we meet them where they're at. And so the marketing that we've done for years is all about staying consistent. And then when the person on the other side of that screen has a pain point that resonates, that your brand recognition or that you've done something in a previous touch point that triggers them to remember you as being able to help them through that pain point. And so that's kind of what we're doing with some of the new software and the new website.
Yeah, so that messaging coming through on our new website and all of our new marketing will be helping business owners reach the next level in time and financial freedom. And so that's where we're really coming alongside business owners and helping them through business advisory, helping them make sure that they have up-to-date, current, accessible financial data and know how to use it to drive their business decisions, to help them scale or help them prepare for the next chapter of the life of their business. Last thing, kind of in our why category, why did we need to clarify the roles and responsibilities and processes?
So to be clear is to be kind, or however the version of that goes, depending on who's saying it. So we wanted to give our team members clear, defined roles and responsibilities to give them success in their day. And so with that, you also want to give those same team members the best tools and the best structure in place to do their job really, really well. And so that's where we went through the process, a ton of education, a ton of coaching throughout this, with ourselves as business owners. I mean, even like the very front door that you walk in from marketing that leads in a prospect to those conversations that the prospect has, all the way through the sales funnel, through onboarding and implementation, all the way through customer success. All of that now has kind of a process and touch points built into it. And it was just needed for the team that we have now, over 20 people, and being able to serve a client at the level that we want to serve them with. And our reputation is key. And so I was in a previous conversation today where your online presence in today's world in business, it's no different than like what your reputation is in the local market. So we just wanted something that would reflect that. And then, those roles and responsibilities and even processes, how can you get the team members to success for their daily or weekly or monthly responsibilities with as little pain as possible? So we always look to software to try to automate or help out those team members. But ultimately, I keep coming back to the team on even that why question is we needed to clarify, because we didn't want an uneducated prospect somehow making it through to a client and then them thinking that we did something that we don't do and being unhappy and taking it out on a team member. Like that's what we're trying to protect. And so to be very clear with all of that communication from the very beginning and throughout the process is why we are doing what we are doing.
Yeah, that's good. And so let's talk through who did we find to help us through all of these changes. We tried some piecemeal routes. We started really good with implementing a sales team, then realizing quickly that it's hard for them to just depend on referral sources alone. Like they can't plan their weeks and their days around if somebody might send, a referral over. And so who did we look for and finally land on as far as helping us through this process?
Probably no different than how people find us. We started searching for others that have done this for other like businesses. And we kind of went out to our peers and saw who they were using, who they were having conversations with. We got introduced to a company and Mary, who leads that company, and ultimately got introduced to our CRO, our Chief Revenue Officer, who's on a fractional basis, Justin. And so Justin, kind of came over and rolled his sleeves up, and he leads a team very similar to our team of three. He leads a team that kind of does this implementation. And he's given us a lot of great advice along the way and turned out to be a good friend throughout this process. So I think that's where knowing the right people, like you and I did not have this knowledge. Like we just didn't know what we didn't know. And so while we could go out and learn and try to grasp a very small percentage of it, it just didn't make sense at the end of the day. Like we had to employ somebody to get us ahead and almost do things the right way and set things straight. And so they've come in, they've rolled up their sleeves, that team that Justin leads. And so they even work with Chris and Hope. And like I said, Chris leading sales and kind of, he's in charge of partnerships and also kind of with prospects that are in the pipeline, and has really good conversations to make sure that people are really served. Even if we don't serve them, like where can they go, depending on what their need is. And so that's really who we were introduced to. And we had to find somebody that both aligned on the business value side and then also the personal value side before we employed and made such a big investment with that type of team. And I will make this disclaimer again. Like, I think we are probably their smallest client that they've taken on in years. So I'm hoping that our investment is a return for our friends that will learn from this experience and hopefully, not have to have such a large investment in their business, that they can just learn from what we do right or what we even do wrong. And it'll make me feel that much better about the money that we've spent throughout this process. And it truly, truly has been an education for us.
Yeah. And so just to give a little bit of perspective, do you remember the date of our kickoff with our fractional RevOps team. Do you remember when that was?
August, because we waited until kids went back to school, and
You
it was
thought,
mid-August.
but you
I
actually
thought,
scheduled
yeah,
it like a week before or 2 weeks before they actually started. So you weren't really
kids
on the same
most
page
kids
as
were
the
already
rest of
like back
us.
in extracurricular stuff, all the everything. So
Yeah, so we had that like first initial kickoff with them. And actually, they had collected data, a lot of information about what we were currently doing. So, our marketing, our sales, our onboarding, just our overall like mission and vision and ideal clients, who we were trying to reach. They had collected all of that even before August. And our website, our name, the branding, all of that reveal didn't happen till mid-November. So that just lets you know like how much work actually is going into all of the upgrades and updates and refinements and clarifications. There is a lot. And we knew going into it that we were looking at a commitment of anywhere from 10 to 12 months. And so a lot of that is behind the scenes work that has had to happen. A lot of meetings with every person on our team, even with some of our current clients. So lots and lots of people have been involved in this process. And we have been very, very fortunate that they have all been willing and done an excellent job to provide value to help make this a success.
yeah. And I think the main thing there, like Justin, he's even joined, our leadership team conversations that happen once a week, and they are completely plugged in to our business. And the thing about it, whenever you are to hire an external consulting group or an external vendor like this, it may be great to where like they just say, here's the playbook, go run the playbook. But they are actually walking beside us doing this along, with us, not a daily basis because they're fractional, but weekly, I would say. And in doing so, if there's slight changes that need to be made, we can make those slight changes. If we grow too fast, we can change pricing or change value, change the amount of leads that we're going after. If we're not growing fast enough, just the opposite. So there's little tweaks that we can make along the way. And it all comes back to they had to buy into that same vision and mission that we have for our business. Because if they essentially came in and plugged in something and all these people came in as far as like wanting services, but the burnout increased on our team members or we couldn't hire people. So there's just the capacity has to be there, and they realize that. So that's the other piece that has been nice in this process, that it's not just they're shoving work in the pipeline, so to speak. It actually has been very intentional this whole time.
Yeah, so they will be helping us to track metrics and stay accountable to those, make adjustments as needed as we go through. But definitely churn is something that we will be looking at, both at team members. Hopefully there is zero, and clients, hopefully that is very, very low as well through this whole process. We are not just trying to get a new client in and send an old client out. That is not not the goal of what we are working on. So we have been very fortunate to find this great team. Love that it's a team approach. I really do hope that our clients feel the same, like we feel with them as an extension of part of our team. When we have questions or need clarifications or want a second opinion, we can go and ask them. And that's exactly what our service is, that I hope our business owner clients feel like we are an extension of their team. And when they get to a point in their day or a decision that needs to be made and they're not sure or just want confirmation that they're doing the right thing, that they feel very comfortable and confident to reach out to our team and can get the answers that they're looking for.
Yeah. And I think this whole education, two of the key team members in this business are you and I. And so I think part of this has just been a huge education for you and I as business owners. And from myself serving as like a fractional CFO to, a handful of our clients, and then also leading the team that serves all of our clients. Because of this education that you and I and the rest of the team are having, our advice to our clients, because we have gone through this process, is even that much better now. And so I think that's the other piece that, you can go to crappy CPE about X, Y, and Z all day long, but this is truly this is deep. And this is something that applies to every business, no matter what your point, where you're at, whether you're a growth or a startup, whether you're kind of at this plateau, whether it's a predetermined plateau as far as a growth perspective, or if you're just kind of on maintenance mode and stale, or if you're in growth mode. And then that final one is succession planning. So it's one of those four areas. The final one, that succession planning, we're not there yet, right? And we've kind of mentioned that there's no changes in ownership or anything like that at this point. And it's still my name, your name in the business. So that would kind of reiterate that. But it is a point that every business owner thinks about. Like, they wake up like, what happens to this thing that we've built together? And I think the main thing is where we are at, and what we were called to create is redundancy now. Like, we want people that can help others, and even our team approach on how we serve clients. If there's turnover or someone goes out on maternity or anything like that, you want a backup plan. So that's where you and I, part of the decision in doing this and finding the who was so we as owners can start moving toward that path to give people opportunities. And if someone one day wants that opportunity of being in the seat that I'm currently in, that's just a leader's call to make that move. So I'm excited about where this goes, the investment that we've made. Hopefully we will see a huge return on that investment. And I have faith that we will, because not only from a dollars perspective, but from a time perspective and what it's meant to the team, I feel that all of us will be stronger on the other side of this.
Yeah. And I personally just love a plan. I love to execute on a plan. And I love that we have, roadmaps and plans and structure and foundation, even more so than we have in the past, especially when you're leading a lot more people. It's much easier to have all of those things defined and documented, and then move along with that plan rather than people feeling confused or overwhelmed or uncertain. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future. I'm excited that we get to share all of the new with everybody now, that the reveal has happened, and really just looking forward to, what we continue to learn through this experience. Well, this has been a great conversation. I hope that you do get your sweet potato casserole this year, and it's the version that you like. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Yep, me too. See you in a bit.
Thanks for hanging with us to the end of another episode. If you have thoughts, comments, or feedback you would like to share, please leave us a comment or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Join us again next week for another great conversation.